But there always a lot of people here.
Oh, I just had to have me today too. We have to decide those kind of options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, welcome to the council meeting of May 21st. Anyone in the audience with amplifying headphones, please raise your hand and we'll bring those to you. Seeing none, let's rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Lee, roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Blush.
Here.
Councilmember Sherman. Here. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here.
Mayor Nesco.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns. Here. Councilmember Gilmore.
Here.
And Councilmember Sack. Here.
Thank you, Donna. All right, does council have any late changes to the agenda? City manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add item 7 under presentations for election of deputy mayor, please. I failed to add that to our agenda tonight, and I was planning on adding it to the June 4th agenda, but seeing as Councilmember Sherman will be out of town, I thought it'd be most appropriate to have a full council for that process.
All right, council prepared? Yep. All right. Thank you. Council have any board reports to share?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a report from the Shelter Public Parks District. The Parks Advisory Board, wanted to note 3 things. First of all, they're advising us to raise our fee rentals for, facilities, especially the parks, because lighting the field for $30 is maybe about an hour's worth of work, and that's about what, people are making. So we're losing money as we're, providing the services. So they're asking us to raise the next possible chance we can get. Even later before next year's fee to fees are regularly looked at. So post haste, they would like it cleaned. Secondly, Catalyst Park has gotten a grant, and that's the gardeners, and they're part of the Blue Zone project. So they're going to be expanding the operations of Catalyst Park and having more programs and having more volunteers. Thirdly, a little bit of bad news, the Kiwanis pancake breakfast might be fading away because of the large pancake maker is really hard to maintain. And it's costing too much to use when we're fundraising with. So if we can find a local community organization, like maybe the Rotary, take over pancake making, that would be cool. I think one of our members, Mike Hill, was thinking about it as well. Because someone talked about that. And fourthly, well, the Rotary's here tonight to talk about one of the park successes with the public-private partnerships, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them tonight. So that's the board report from the Central Park District. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? All right, moving on. Has everyone reviewed the items on the agenda?
Yes.
Can motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as published.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There's several presentations tonight. Our first one is a swearing in of a brand new council member, Lindsay Sapp. Donna, you probably swear in.
solemnly swear that I am a citizen of the United States, that I am a citizen of the United States, and of the state of Washington, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, and will to the best of my judgment, skill and ability, faithfully and impartially, perform the duties of Shelton City Council, seat number 6, of Shelton City Council, seat number 6, for the city of Shelton, Washington, and the city of Shelton, Washington, as such duties are prescribed by law.
Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you very much.
That's my turn. He's wearing a new police officer. Again, we'll call him up. I don't have his name.
Mullins.
I'm sorry.
I am Mullins.
Mullins. Ready for this? All right. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Ricardo Mullins. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Washington. And to abide by the Code of Ethics of the City of Shelton Police Department. That I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge the duties of police officer for the City of Shelton. All right, welcome. Also, did they tell you you're going to furnish the academy? Oh, halfway there.
So city council, Officer Mullins here, I got to do his background, and one thing that was really outstanding was he had tested for a police officer position in Eastern Oregon, which it's much more competitive, and hundreds of applicants. And when I went to do his background, I talked to the police chief of a small agency out there who, believe it or not, remembered Mr. Mullins specifically among all these applicants. And the reason why is the police chief said during testing, he would come out and he would like to observe everyone as everyone's nervous and trying to prepare themselves. But Mr. Mullins was the only one that was walking around asking who needed help. And so I'm really excited that Mr. Mullins has left Eastern Washington. I'm thankful for his family that supported him, because it's not just Mr. Mullins' decision, it's the entire family's decision. Came out here, reestablished himself here in Shelton, and I think we have a flying officer for our community here. So thank you.
Welcome.
Our next presentation is from the Rotarians, Kristen French and Dave Gardner.
Next slide.
Good evening, council members, for inviting us to speak this evening. We understand you have a hard copy packet for your reference that takes you through a presentation of the police. This will focus on a partnership between the Shelton Rotary Club using the City of Shelton's Adopted Park program and other local partnerships to do a focused target over the past year at the city's Pumpkin Pup Trail. For those who are not familiar, we provided a brief background. Anyone in the audience who might be interested, on page 2 of our handouts, we would like to point out the Pumpkin Pup Trail system is located immediately across Shelton Springs Road from the Shelton High School and the track facility. And there you will find a beautiful, beautiful trail, 1.8 miles in length, serpentine through some vegetated forest lands, well-maintained bark trail, chips friendly for running or walking. And at the trailhead is a student memorial. And the student memorial recognizes and ensures that the memory of Shelton students who passed prior to reaching graduation will remain honored and, you know, so we provided a bit of history on slide 2 to just say how the trail came into being. So, it was back in the 1970s, through many local, joint efforts that the Huffman Club was built. And from that time forward, it's really been a fundamental part of a lot of our community members, from athletes, you know, to elderly, to folks with young children, people walking pets. It's just a great resource. And we realized in 22 that things were not looking good at the trail. And we became more and more concerned, and we started to reach out to folks who have used the trail, many for more than 30 years. And we were really concerned about the direction it's going. So what we did on page slides 4, we kind of outlined what we saw. And so it's titled Background 2022 through Spring 23 Issues of Concern. We were seeing damage to improvements, damage to the vegetation, daily graffiti, and daily dumping of really excessive trash. Behavior by very few, deterring use by many. And so the behavior of just a few folks was turning folks away from using this amenity. And the more that was allowed to happen, the fewer users of the trail we were seeing. We confirmed that with members of the community, and we decided at the Shelton Rotary Club that this was a priority project that we were willing and interested in standing behind and making it our target focus spring of last year. We took it on. That included formally adopting through the city's program, and it included partnering with the city of Shelton, find city law enforcement, the school district, different partners in the community, and we strategized on things we could do. And I thought it'd be helpful to see some before photos. So in your slide sets 5 through 11, you can flip through. We were seeing people just daily throwing trash and clothing in the trees and bushes. All of the fine benches were the subject of graffiti. We had a porta potty that was targeted with graffiti on a daily basis, intentionally targeted with fire. You know, you see unfortunately the condition was just not what we would want to represent as a key cornerstone of our community gathering, and again, right across from one of our schools. I think especially concerning on pages, like before photo 7 and 8, you can just see people would literally just throw trash on the student memorial, graffiti and trash. And it was really saddening to watch. So here we are a year later, following the adoption and a lot of hard work by a lot of really, excited people. We have the after photos that you can page through. So on slides 12 and 13, you will see some very current photos of that same student memorial area. And the exciting thing is we can report this. Our trash pickup days, we started out and it was exceeding 10 full bags of trash that we would lug out on the day. And that is not the case anymore. We joke that we're lucky to even fill half of the trash bag. We have community members coming up and thanking us and joining in. So it's a revived and renewed spirit up there. We did on slide 14, you have a timeline summary that just kind of takes you through what I've talked about, but it talks about the period of 22 to spring of 23. We held a kickoff event back in April of 2023, where we invited all of the community members to kind of rally there. Those who hadn't used the trail get introduced to the trail and figure out, what we do to turn this around. So that's been a year in progress, and the Shelton Rotary Club just renewed its adopted park status, so that we have signed on for another entire year of going up and doing these work sessions and user support. So here we are in May, and one of the things I'm excited to turn over to Abe to talk about is the current focus on the student memorial. That memorial has not been updated since 2014. And we've got some exciting things to share. So with that, I'll hand it over.
Good evening, council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. So I have had the true honor to have two opportunities to work on this particular memorial and up the Hufflepuff Trail. Just wanted to walk you through a few of the details about the work we've been doing over the last year, just some of the work that we did initially on the project, kind of where we're at, where we're looking to go moving forward. So as you see on slide 15, so for the past year, we have been asking the community to provide us with names. You know, social media can be used for a lot of negative things, but there are some great things it can be used for. So initially back in the mid-90s, when I started this project, when I was researching names, it was more of a check out some yearbooks, word of mouth, articles in the paper, you know, those kinds of things. And we did our best to gather as many names as possible. And we utilized social media this time around. For the last year or so, we've been able to gather 24 names to add to the memorial. You'll probably notice that about 10 of those names were missed initially. And actually a couple of those are individuals that their family members were initially against their names being included. That's one of the things that we wanted to prioritize for this particular memorial, was to make sure that it was a positive experience for the loved ones that were still in the community. And so if they requested that a name didn't be included, we wanted to honor and respect that wish. So pretty cool that we were able to add some names this time around. Those families are on board and super thankful. I'd like to share a few of the interactions I've had with family members, which I think makes all this work worthwhile. I've had several mothers and several family members communicate to me that they're super appreciative of the city and the Rotary and all of the organizations coming together to do this project, because they thought their children's names would be forgotten forever. So they're super thankful for the opportunity to see their children's names memorialized. So as you can see, we've got 24 new names. Because of that, there isn't enough room on the current stand-up memorial. So we've come up with some solutions moving forward. As you can see, we have a rendering up here of what it will look like. We'll actually have this rendering. We're going to have a gathering up at the Hufflepuff and the park itself next Friday. Community is welcome to join us. It'll be from 11 to 6. We'll be up there to answer questions, to walk, jog, and people can take a look to see what it's going to look like, ask questions, provide feedback, and we're really looking forward to that event. If you move to page 17, that really kind of encapsulates where we're at kind of financially and the scope of the project is taken on. And I'll tell you, it's essentially getting the opportunity to do the whole project over again for myself and having the opportunity to do the first time or fast forward 25 years. Truly is an honor. Definitely a little bit of work ahead of us. Price tag of about $29,000, a little over $29,000. Our solution for to add some more names is to purchase a couple granite benches. There's 3 benches up there currently, as you can see on the rendering here. The 2 benches that are closest to the road, closest to the high school, Shelton Springs, those will be replaced with granite benches. So the names will be engraved at the back of those benches. There will be room for additional names as we move forward. And if and when those get filled up, there's a 3rd bench that could be replaced as well. There was also some concern brought up by the community that, at the time, there was just 2 schools to include. There's been schools that have been added to the community. So it's not just Shelton High School and Shelton Middle School. So in thinking of that, trying to be proactive, the benches themselves will not be school specific. So it'll be Shelton Remembers, and it'll be the same verbiage that's on the stand-up one. So currently we're working, Rotary Club and I are working on some fundraising efforts. They've already pledged some money. The Shelton Memorial Park has pledged some money. Williams Tech Architecture put forth some efforts free of charge as well. We're going to do GoFundMe to raise some funds. Also going to do some old school door knocking, face to face, make some requests. It's a little bit larger for price tag than we probably thought about as we have embarked upon this rededication. Like I said, I think every kind was worth it. The effort that has been put in, the gratitude from the families, and to really continue to highlight this really prominent area of our community that's super important. So turn back to the slides, you can see 18 through 21 kind of action photos. So we had all the great efforts that have been put forth up at the top. A lot of folks have been putting in time to pick things up, maintain the area, and it's been a joy to be a part of. So with that, if there are any questions or concerns or clarification, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions on? So this was your original legal project from years back?
It was, yes, yep. Yep, a number of years ago.
Wonderful, you guys have done a wonderful job out there, much appreciated. It's amazing when we have community members and groups, nonprofit groups that come out and you know, take it upon themselves to be in the city of Shelton. I think it's absolutely wonderful. You know, scholarships and adopting parks and all the fundraising that we do here. And we got when we get to, and I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you,
In
Amy.
closing, if anybody wants to make a donation today, we'll be available.
You can put me down for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, the next presentation is an LCAP from Rick Harbaugh. Sorry, I believe that.
So this is for our first quarter, 2024. So we have a pretty good first quarter. We're looking at about 670 visitors, contacts. For international students. It's great. And that's, you know, tends to be kind of slow. Very good, but next slide, please. As you can see, it's very slowly increasing. So I haven't done the math, but it's 70% roughly. So very happy with that. Next slide. So Facebook, we continue to have pretty good response. Now, see, I printed this up and I still can't read it. But you know, we're looking at a reach of about 10,000 people. Some so it's, you know, I don't know if all these people are, but it's great. And then next slide. Here we have our Google Analytics. As you can see on the left-hand side there, we had some little bot thing which kind of messed up all of our graphics. So I also added what we have directly from our website, and you can see it's a lot more evenly distributed. And so we had about a little over 1,000 unique visits, and about 2,000 engagements for our website. The next one, we are currently finishing up installing our Worst Festival exhibit, which is fun. But I hadn't realized that we had some sick clowns, and probably some people do that already, but I had some kid come in today and she was terrified of the exhibit because of the clown pictures. But so that's going on now, and Oh, one thing I wanted to add too is that, a couple weeks ago, we had a couple from Australia. And they were so happy because we were busy information and we were open. They had gone to multiple places and every place was closed. So, so that was fun. So, is there anything, any questions, comments?
Questions? Thank you very much. All right. Moving on, we have the health report from Rachel. Christmas Town marketing and events.
Good evening, counselors, Shelton folks. Before I started, I made this post, or made this slide back on May 8th at Danielle's request, not really knowing what I was gonna put in it, but this picture really struck me because it was these kids obviously gathering Christmas trees for our maze. And they obviously are having a really good time, their parents' chainsaws. But what I wanted, I didn't really realize how fortuitous this was, because these same children, I would like to point out, have been working all week on your train. And they receive absolutely no financial contribution. These kids got nothing for doing the Christmas maze. They took on the Christmas maze for us this year. And they are just students in our area, so anytime anybody says that kids these days, I want you to realize that that little guy in the back there was crawling inside the pipes and stuff and getting to the places where us old crooked people couldn't get to. So I really hope you realize that we have some wonderful kids in our community, and they obviously helped us with Christmas Town, and I hope everybody enjoys the train that they did, had nothing to do with it, so. There you go. Anyway, having said that, so I wanted Christmas Town happening such a long time ago. This is our 4th year. The first year was the Christmas maze that we put on, where we won the Guinness World Record for the most Christmas trees in the world, which is awesome. We have a Guinness World Record, and if anybody looks up Shelton, we do have that amazing distinction. And since then, we have been shamed into hosting events every year. And last year, again, like these kids that are in the picture, they all hosted, they came and did the Christmas maze because it was a lot of work every year. And we were like, this is a lot of work. And so all those children came forward, and then just people from the public came forth and did it. And again, nobody got paid. They just did it because they just loved having Christmas maze. Below that, you will see a whole list of companies, local companies that have sponsored Christmas Town all together, along with the $12,000 that the city of Shelton contributed to lodging tax. We raised over $60,000 for Christmas Town. And with that money, we were able to put every dollar back into the event, where we had free events. We had, we were able to do some major advertising for Mason County, and for Shelton, which we've never done before, using King 5 TV advertising. Mostly Litch Creek came in at $20,000, which was amazing. So I really want you to realize that we have some amazing supporters for our Christmas spirit in Shelton. And it's not just a matter of, you mentioned the revive, and reignite the spirit, really shows that at Christmas. And and again, the train, just the spirit of the community, it is really amazing. It's really awesome to give people the opportunity to bring forth that spirit and be their best person. Next slide. So I'm just gonna go really quick through everything. Lots of advertising. We had events all over Mason County. I tried to spread it out so it wasn't just Shelton. Shelton was the hub as Christmas Town, but I tried to bring in all the events that were happening in Belfair. We started an event in Hoodsport. There used to be a really cool Christmas event, but we brought that back, and so we started doing stuff out there. We also tried to make it so that there were things happening all week, because part of what lodging tax is you're trying to put heads to beds on days when some of the hotels or the lodging may not have people staying. And the nice thing about Christmas is it works pretty much every day of the week because people take time off. The Shelton Journal was a huge supporter of this event. I really want to say thank you to them. As was King 5, they went beyond, they did some evening magazine presentations. And then Warm 106.9, which is our Christmas station, which I tune into every year. They really did a great job. And then KMES was a partner, so we did a lot of fun things with the radio, doing radio programs. Next. And again, really, again, the sponsors, the tree sponsors, we had trees around town. And a lot of people contributed just even the $25, the $50 for that. And that, all the funds from that went straight to the downtown merchants, so they could do some of the events they're doing downtown. Next slide. And I got a lot of slides, I'm gonna try to go quick. Website, we had a lot of posts, we had a lot of events. This is just to kind of exemplify all the different things that were going on. Like I mentioned, we had a Christmas Carol, which we posted here at the Civic Center. We thought maybe 10 people would show up. We were kind of panicking because we had these spots where people were supposed to do radios. We had follies. I learned so much about radio. And we had 48 people show up for 9 different voices, and so we shared it and we did it a couple times, and it was really, really fun, really cool community effort. The next slide, please, Don. As you probably noticed, there was Christmas trees around town. A lot of people had fun with that. I'm amazed how many people stole them, but they obviously needed Christmas trees. We had a fellow out in Montesano who donated like a lot of the trees, and then I paid for some as well, just to make the maze more full, because people sometimes complain that we're using Charlie Brown trees for the maze. And so he donated quite a few, and his connection was his kids used to come here when they came here for family to Christmas Town when they were younger, and they remember the first Santa Claus. And it was just kind of neat because he put aside 200 Christmas trees for us, which we were then able to raise money for the Shelton Downtown Merchants with. Next slide, and make the downtown look pretty. And then again, this is the tree maze. We had a lot of people show up for that. Those are the trees that came on the big trucks. We had 3 trucks go out, pick them up, and then it was kind of fun because before we'd have to put 30 trees in a row to make it look okay. We put 4 and we're like, oh, okay, it's a forest. So a lot harder to put lights on though, because there's a lot more branches. Next slide. And then again, we had fundraisers pretty much every night. We started that last year. It was really good because a lot of the schools were able to fundraise, raise little monies, tell everybody what we do. But what was really nice is people who showed up for the maze on a weeknight, they were able to have hot chocolate and fires and just had a wonderful time. And again, thank you for letting us use your parking lot. It was so beautiful. That's why we had the propane ones. We didn't want to put any sparks or anything on the concrete. The next slide. Gingerbread challenge again. This was the 4th year. We had some amazing entries. These are a few of them. Again, we had donations for prizes. Dr. Bowers and a couple other people. So we gave out a couple $1,000s in prizes. So kids went home with some really good checks. Next slide, please. And then we had lots of crafts and Santa Claus and different events at the Civic Center, which was really fun for everybody. Everything was free. And then what wasn't free, it was donated back to the different organizations that were supporting it. Next slide. And this is the website stats during the season of Christmastown. And this is specific just to the Christmastown website. So it's christmastownwa.org. And we had 37,000 visitors in that period of Christmastown, which was a 23% increase from the previous year. And next slide. And then as far as our website, our Facebook reach, I did do, so the top Facebook is the Christmastown WA one. And then I also started a second Facebook, which was called the Festival of the Furs, because I was trying to bring the whole community into it. So you can see it had 100% increase because it was its first year, but 72,000 people visited that, and that was kind of exciting. And next slide. And then just to hit the numbers, because this is all about lodging tax. Mason County is at the top there. That is what I also host the contract for Mason County Tourism. So I have to track this very carefully to make sure the numbers are going in the right direction. If you look at that's the bigger piece right there, but it's lodging tax numbers are usually 2 months ahead. So if it's money that comes in December from lodging, it is kind of reported in February, March, sometimes a little earlier, depending on what the lodging facility is. Airbnbs go in a little earlier, but private hotels and stuff go in a little later. So Shelton is generally a little bit later because there's more private hotels here. And I hope you can see from the numbers and from your packets, this is included as well. the numbers are going up, and that is wonderful because the whole point of spending lodging tax is to hit shoulder season and to try to bring people to our community, not in the summer months when everybody's already here, but try to help all those businesses that would like to have, help the shops out during the winter. And I'm sure the shopkeepers will attest to the fact that having people come to Shelton at Christmas is good. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Bringing back Christmastown has been absolutely wonderful. It started, I believe, with the first tree maids and the Hallmark record-breaking made, I guess, and thank you for that, and thank you for the continued support of Christmastown, and just get back to the trend, and absolutely thank you for the Hansons and the Wilson and Dickerson families for their hard work on that train. I spent 4 days down there, about 4 hours a day, and I'll tell you, it was hard work. We scraped, we sanded, we painted, and then sometimes we scraped and sanded again, the same spot that we sanded a few days ago, because they wanted it to look really nice, and I absolutely appreciate it. Those kids, I want to tell you about those kids, the Dickinson kids, they are just
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful kids, nice kids, hardworking, and she's not kidding. They were crawling through underneath that train in spots that you couldn't get your hand into. I don't know how they did it, but they were covered from head to toe with paint every single day that I was there. I mean, head to toe with
We
paint.
still all are, right? Yeah, I know, and not to spout, but I really think that when we as a community come together to do these small things, I noticed that somebody is restoring the totem pole in Post Office Park, and I'm sure a lot of you realize that the Post Office Park is pending due, and Dwayne Wilson and his grandchildren have convinced me to help him lead a charge to try save Post Office Park, which I said, no, I'm not gonna get involved, it's not gonna happen. But honestly, it's really important for us as a community to realize that if we all work together, it spreads the load, and it is not the city's responsibility to be the one that does everything. It's not the county's, it's our responsibility to support the city and to support our community.
Rachel, I one mention that Zach Hanson, Rachel's son, was the leader of train restoration. And he made it work.
Rachel, I did want to say that I don't know how many people have come in and said to me that Shelton felt more like a Hallmark movie than any place they've ever been. So I have a feeling you guys have a lot to do.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, moving on, our last presentation, actually, not the last, next one. Presentation from our finance director, Mike Giddens. I'm not sure he'll get claps, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. This is the financial report for March of 2024. And just as a reminder, we've been doing this now at the council meeting with me reporting for a little over a year, because I know City Manager Ziegler and I both feel this is important information. And I thank you for the opportunity to really highlight this for you and the community. I'm going to start out on page 1. March is a nice place to look at our finances because it's a 25% portion of the fiscal year, kind of breaks a little bit evenly in that way. Not that all of the revenues certainly come in evenly, nor do the expenditures happen that way. But in math terms, it's a little bit easier to break it up in that quarter and then half kind of look at things. In particular, as we're preparing for the 2025 budget, we really look carefully at that mid-year projection so that we can see where we're going to end up. As a reminder, what happens in our funds really kind of guides us towards development for the next year. So on this page, we've summarized the revenue and expenditures in our general fund. Tend to focus a little bit more on that since that's driven by a lot of factors of revenue and expenses that support the general government functions of the city of Shelton. We are estimating right now that we'll have an ending fund balance of just over 5.5 million. So when we subtract the reserve amount of that, we're estimating right now that it will have just over $2.4 million of unreserved amount. We're working as a city. Well, right now, the city manager and I are looking at this carefully so that we can work as a city leadership team to make some recommendations to you all and through the budget process on what happens with that amount. Of course, it's your decision as council with the budget. But as we are able to get a handle on what the revenue projections look like for 2025, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes on this so that you know it's not just sitting there unnoticed. We're watching it and looking at what's happening. As you know, a year ago, we brought to you, or just about a year ago, we brought a difficult mid-year budget that reduced some expenditures, in particular the general fund. And so it's important, I think, to highlight where we're at with that. So that's where we're estimating right now with what we know right now, which is pretty good information, I think. I'm gonna go forward here to page 2 to highlight some of the revenue. So at March, what we know is we have had revenue come in at a certain rate for 25% of the fiscal year. But I'm sitting here on May 21st and I know a little bit more because we've received the first half property tax payments. Those came in at 52% of budget, which is right about where we would expect. So we're able, when we're preparing this report, which what we completed about 2 weeks ago for the packet, we're able to estimate that we're pretty certain we'll receive all of our property tax budget as we're showing there. And if you just look at the general fund revenue sources, right now we're pretty optimistic that we'll be right at about where we're budgeted, slightly above because we're receiving some unanticipated revenue that came in the way of grants and other kinds of allotments that we didn't know about. We'll likely bring you a second supplemental budget, but at this point, I think that's a really positive place to be, that we're estimating that we'll collect just about right where we estimated the budget to be. So not just trying to pat finance on the back with that we estimated well in budget, but that it's really coming true, and that I think that's a good sign for our economic situation as it is right now, that there's no sign that there's any problems. If you remember last year, for those of you that were here, we had a very down month in sales tax, and that hasn't happened this year. It's been very comparable to what we've seen in past years. So from a revenue standpoint, things are looking really solid. At the expenditure side of things, so I'm on the next page. If I can get it to go to the next page, I'll be there. There we go. Everything, you know, at the bottom line, we're also looking like we'll spend most of the general fund. Some departments, this is the breakdown of the general fund by department. Some are slightly under budget, some are slightly over. And so it's a busy year. It means that everybody's really productive and things are happening, but we're also not looking at big savings in the cost center. So from that perspective, with what we know right now, as we prepare the March financial statement, we're estimating that we'll pretty much fully expend the general fund budget within about 1%. So that's a pretty narrow margin. And I highlight this for you because as we plan for the 2025 budget, that makes our task pretty formidable, because we don't, as you know, have much revenue increase, and we're already spending on our different programs and projects that happen out of the general fund at a pretty high level.
Are we seeing a benefit with the increase in B&O tax so far?
We're seeing some additional revenue, certainly. Yes, it's coming in. As you notice on our revenue projection here, we're projecting slightly under because they didn't know quite where it would come in. But we're certainly we were able to increase that budget line for this year. And so it will certainly, I would say, be close to fully realized. And as we look towards the 2025 budget right now, I'm estimating not a very much of a larger increase, because I think we've pretty much realized that, but we'll see a little bit where it comes in as those annual filers pay, because that's the part where it's difficult to know how much, business happened in the course of the year where people would pay that tax annually. But it certainly was an increase to our budget there. So that's the review by department. On pages 4 and 5 of the report, we have the general fund year-to-year comparison and then month-to-month. So where it has been over the course of years, and we go back to fiscal year 2022, and then again by March. So where it was in March of 22 through 2024. And now that we're past that difficult year of 2020, I think it draws us to some good comparisons. I certainly use this as a tool to look at where our revenue's landing. And as just an example, Mr. Mayor, you asked about B&O tax. You can see through March, it's, not as much as 2022, but certainly a little bit more than 2023. So that'll just be an area we continue to watch. And as that tax fully becomes implemented, I'll just share with you anecdotally, it's taken some of our payers a little bit of time to get used to it. We're having to do some work in contacting businesses to get the right rate remitted. So I think I want to give it a little bit more time to really see that revenue kind of settles in at that new tax rate. So that's our comparisons on the general fund. This page then shows the breakdown of sales tax through March, sales tax breakdown by type. I know that's of interest to some folks because you can really see that our sales tax in the city of Shelton is pretty static on what we collect on, and it doesn't change greatly over the course of months. A couple of percents maybe will vary between retail and professional services, and then construction, depending on what's happening. I would guess we'll see that change a little bit as we look at April. Simply because the city's been engaged in some pretty large construction projects over April and May. So we'll take a look at that. In moving along, because I know we have a lot going on this evening. On page 7, this is a page that has a lot of information. At the top part, we're estimating fund balances. This is obviously something I think I draw your attention to pretty frequently across all of our city funds, from the general fund throughout everything, to estimate where we think we'll end the year. This is what we know with the expenses and revenues we've realized as of March. Everything's estimated to end in a positive way. In other words, a positive fund balance, which is what we want to see with all of the different projects and happening throughout the city and the different funds. So we knew that we were drawing some of them down as we complete some of the projects, and that's shown by the dollar and percent change over on those right-hand columns. And then at the bottom of page 7 is our tracking of citywide FTE. And I think it's, of course, we filled some positions as of May 21st, but where we stood at March 31st, the end of March, we're 9.5 total city vacancies. And so in some instances that, of course, creates some budget savings because we're not paying a salary, but in other departments, we're having to pay overtime to cover that. And certainly if there's not overtime, there's other city staff doing the job because the work typically is not going away because we're already a pretty lean city. So I track that so that you can have an idea of kind of where we stand and where we're at with those.
We're using contractors for building and stuff. Are we using labor dollars at what's short, what we're short in employees? Or do we have another fund for that?
No, essentially, if it's building official services, then it's it'd be under different line items, so it'd be professional services, contract services within the community development budget. But you'd see a savings in the regular pay line item, so it's just being it's being expended from one line item and not being expended from the other. So in the bottom line budget for community economic development, you'll see that difference.
And then on pages 8 through the rest of the report, we kind of roll it up and take you through each fund, revenues and expenditures, and round out the report on the city finances through the month of March. So each month we work to close the month, balance everything out, and then present this to you. I can tell you that Deputy Finance Director Schnitzer and I worked hard on the annual financial report that's been submitted to the State Auditor's Office. That's due by this year, May 29th, and we expect to have an audit by the state auditor of 2 fiscal years, 2022 and 2023, sometime this year. So that's the end of my financial report for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely wonderful report, and I think a lot of this has to do with you and your staff, and of course, the city manager doing their job as well. That's why I think we're so close in our funds. Because you saw something happen about 1.5 years ago, and you put the brakes on, and you did a new budget for 24 and took that into account. I think you've just done a great job. I think it's got a lot to do with you and your staff and your city manager.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we are at our last presentation. We're gonna call the presentation, but it's selection of our deputy mayor. And it's Donna and all our city clerk will explain the process, and I will call for nominations after
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Mayor. As city clerk makes her way to the podium, as you know, the city council protocol manual stipulates that a mayor and deputy mayor will be elected from the body of the council. We have a sitting mayor, council's Deputy Mayor Schmidt resigned in April of this year, opening that seat. We have a full council tonight, finally, with the appointment of Councilmember Sapp. And with the absence of Councilmember Sherman at the next meeting, I thought it was appropriate that we move through the process of appointing a deputy mayor tonight. So that process is very similar to what you've seen before, where we open the floor for nominations. They don't need a second. I'll close the nominations, and then mayor will. Oh, excuse me, the clerk will take a roll call, correct?
Whatever you want me to do. And there, so you can open the floor for nominations.
Nominations are open.
I nominate Councilmember Sherman for deputy mayor.
I nominate Councilmember Gutierrez for deputy mayor.
All right, have there any other nominations? Then we motion that we close nominations.
Yeah.
Okay, I like a motion to close nominations.
Motion to close nominations.
So the second to close nominations, all in favor, say aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, who was the second? I was writing, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The floor is closed. All right. Honorable roll call vote.
Okay. So our nominated council members are Sharon Sherman and Miguel Gutierrez. And we'll start with Lindsay. Sharon Sherman. Thank you.
Miguel.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Sharon.
Oh, you're not gonna vote now. You're gonna go over here?
Yeah.
Okay, Sharon. Thank you.
Myself.
Okay, that's four.
We are now, related to picture conference improvement plan, Public Works Director Jay Harris on details.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. So the 6-year transportation improvement plan, I got some great stuff tonight, okay? I sort of consumed backside of the agenda here. So I'll go quickly though. So the purpose of the 6-year transportation improvement plan is to look 6 years into the future. In the packet, you'll find a spreadsheet. We're required to report our transportation projects. These are the larger projects in the city to the state every year within 30 days of council adopting. The acronym is TIP, the 6-year TIP. So the TIP is good for us because it allows us to really look into what the transportation needs are. And in a moment, I'll go over some of the projects. And it also allows us to secure funding, whether it's through the county. The county is one of our partners. Going through the state, we submit some grant requests to the state. We usually have some matching funds that we use the transportation benefit district dollars as matching funds. So the goal is to get this approved through you guys at the next meeting. Some of the projects in the TIP, and this is in your packet, is we're working on the intersection improvement of Wallace Nealon and Springs. We have a grant from the state to look at the intersection improvements there. Roundabout there, about $5 million. Improving the signal and adding some additional turning movements and that sort of thing, maybe about $1.5 million. So more to come on that. We're going to be bringing that project to you folks. We're having some studies done and that sort of thing on it. We actually secured some additional funding recently from the state, another $1 million just for the corridor improvements, which the intersection, we can apply maybe a little bit of that money there. So we'll be coming to you in a study session about that project to talk a little more. The next one, I'm partway down the list here, Olympic Highway North. We secured a $3.8 million grant from the Transportation Improvement Board, TIE, for that project. That's for pavement restoration. We're going to get in there and do that. That's on the TIP. And then we have the systemic safety pedestrian improvements. That's a rapid flashing beacon at Olympic Highway North and I Street that's going to go in as part of the Olympic Highway North pavement restoration project. Up at Bellevue Avenue, Olympic Highway South, what is that? Urban Outfitters, Olympic Outfitters?
Shelton Outfitters.
Shelton
You got
Outfitters,
it.
close, I got them all right. So Shelton Outfitters, there's some problems with the pedestrians there getting across the road at the signal and that sort of thing, some sidewalk improvements. And then in a little bit, I'll be talking about the transportation comp plan. That's also in the TIP. That's updating an older 2017 plan. This is where we go in and look at trip rates at existing intersections and then forecast them 20 years out and then identify future improvements. Great project. Some railroad track removal. That would be down there at SR3. There's some tracks still there at 7th. And then up all the way to Holbert. So we got a project coming up for that. You guys will be seeing soon. The regional trails are on here too. That's the old Simpson Rail line from Nealon all the way up to 101. It's a large corridor there. It needs to be on our TIP list. Also, there's another project to take a trail from Nealon, SR3, all the way out to the yacht club. So these are all in the planning stage, but I need to add them onto the TIP. If we try to secure funding and they're not on here, we got a problem. I can't get funding, additional funding, if they're not here. Critical pedestrian route map, something really important we're going to be working on. And then 2 developer projects. One is Satsop Avenue, and it goes down to Deegan Road. That's in the city limits. Coffee Creek Development will be building that. And I need to get that's a major collector they're putting in, and they'll be constructing a lot of those improvements. And it's possible they're eligible for traffic impact fee reimbursements. So I needed that on here. And then with Olympic Heights, Alpine Way roadway improvements or Peacock Lane, whichever. We don't quite know what the road name is yet there, but that's also a collector road. That's shown on the TIP, and I'm available for any questions.
Donna, anyone have a public comment?
No, there is such a mayor.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to place resolution number 1329-0424 on the action agenda for the June 4th council meeting for further consideration.
Second.
All right, comments or questions? Well, it would not be an application discussion if I didn't mention my Open Bay Junior High problem up there by the school where there's 4 lanes of traffic. Kids are always dodging cars over there. One car will stop each direction, maybe we'll say, and then the other 2 cars each direction don't stop. And so it wouldn't be normal if I didn't bring that up. I bring that up every time I talk about safe routes or construction. Also, the new Mountain View School, I'm not sure why that school did not put in a crosswalk in front of the brand new school when they built that. But that's still a concern. I live down there. Kids are crossing every day, but there's no crosswalk. Probably should be a crosswalk there, but that's my issue. Anything else?
Thanks for prioritizing this list and giving us a roadmap.
Good. It's your roadmap.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, well, we have a motion to second to place resolution number 1329-0424 on the action agenda for June 4th, 2024. For further consideration, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. This public hearing is closed. Back to regular meeting. All right, we have another item from J. SCJ Alliance Application Plan.
Yes, so council, I mentioned this was one of the items on the tip. So currently the city is working with SCJ Alliance in the global comprehensive plan for the city. We're doing it jointly with the county. That was a presentation that Director Hill had brought you folks a couple months ago. That's underway. So when the comprehensive plan is land use maps, land use types, housing needs, capital facilities, utilities, that's water, sewer, storm, transportation is part of the comp plan, economic development, parks and recreations, and then goals for the plan to achieve a 20-year vision. The comp plan's updated every 10 years, but it's a 20-year look. Well, transportation's part of that. And so we budgeted last year $100,000 to hire a consultant to really look at the transportation part of it, which eventually this 20-year look, those are projects that are going to enter the tip. So this is really good timing. These are things that aren't quite there yet, or they might be, but they're not funded or not well developed. So that transportation comp plan is real important to the city. And the water and wastewater comp plans were already done recently and adopted by council. Those will be incorporated as part of the overall comprehensive plan for the city. So it's good. So we budgeted $100,000 and SCJ is already working on the rest of the comp plan. So it's a really good fit. They're on our qualified pool list. And so you'll see in there's a work order from SCJ to work on our comprehensive plan for transportation. They're going to be a little held up on it because they need to do a bunch of traffic counts and they can't do it when school's out, unfortunately. So they're going to be starting in the fall when school's back in again. It's amazing the amount of traffic that the schools generate. So you'll probably see the transportation comp plan coming out maybe at the time of Christmas Town or something. That's about the right timing, sometime next December or January sort of thing. That's the end of my presentation.
Does that public comment?
Oh, there is a Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, move to place resolution number 1332-0524 on June 4th, 2024 council meeting, action agenda for further consideration.
Second.
Thank you. Comments, questions? All right, we have a motion to second to place resolution number 1332-0524 for the June 4th, 2024 council meeting for further action. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. The last business item is from Jay.
Yeah, so council, we have had a vacant city engineer position for over a year now. This particular position is very difficult to hire right now. Civil engineers, there's just not a lot of them coming out of school. A lot of the more senior people are retiring at large rates. And it's just one of those positions that is very, very difficult to fill. So we put out various applications for city engineer, assistant public works director, and just didn't do well. This is a very key position at the city. That a lot of things that they do is to manage the private development group. That's for development review, permitting, and construction inspection for private developer projects, a lot of single family home subdivisions, that sort of thing. Then they also work on capital projects. We have a lot of water projects and street projects and all sorts of things you guys are sort of hearing about on an ongoing basis. So that's what that position does. Right now, I have people in from other divisions assisting me, and I'm sitting there taking over some of these roles. So as sort of a fill the gap, we put out an RFQ for senior engineering services. And in February, we received 2 statements of qualifications. And then we chose Civil Air Engineers as the most qualified company to perform the work. They gave us a proposal in the state of Washington, engineering and architectural services. You have to select the most qualified, then you negotiate scope and fee. And so we did that. And you'll see the scope and fee attached here. We're planning on spending in the contract term about $200,000. The contract will go pretty much from May to May. It won't line up with our budget cycle, which is a calendar year, but we'll get that part figured out. But they're going to come in, they're going to run some of our capital projects for us and start rolling up their sleeves and being trained in our development review. Everybody's codes are a little different, and it's going to take a little while for these folks to be up and running. They're going to be in the office 2 days a week and then available by phone or by Zoom meeting type of thing at other times. So I think we'll see some great benefits by moving forward with this contract award. Thank you.
No other public comment, Donna?
No, there isn't, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to replace resolution number 1333-0524 on the June 4th, 2024 council meeting action agenda for further consideration.
Second.
All right, comment.
Are we still recruiting, even if we pick up this contract? We're going to continue to recruit, correct?
Not currently, just because of the state of the job market, that right now, these positions just aren't available. I think we're going to bring this company on, let it sit for a bit. We still have in the Public Works Fund the vacant position. We're going to evaluate that positional cost in the budget. We might carry it forward in the 2025 budget. These are still conversations that we need to have. I would like to get a full-time in-house person. I mean, obviously, we're getting a person, bringing them in-house and paying a consultant fee, right? That we can have somebody in-house for half the cost about. You know, by the time you pay their salary and their roll-ups or benefits and all that, it's probably half of what a consultant would cost. So it's something me and the city manager need to look more into for the 2025 budget, and the finance director, and sort of evaluate the landscape. You know, if you keep going out hoping you're going to hire someone and you can't, we're having issues with similar positions at the city. At a certain point, you got to find something, especially with the workload that we have right now, that we have to find a fit. But that's a good question. And today, we're going to keep the FTE, and the budget will be in the 2024 budget. And we'll get back to you during the budget presentations to see if we're moving it forward for 2025.
It's an incredible competitive job market in the civil engineer field. And last August, when I was at a conference, I talked to a couple of recruitment firms, and they told me not even recruit for a city engineer because we couldn't recruit at the salary that we would pay because of the I-5 corridor, both private and public sector, the state of Washington. They're not able to fill all their needs as well. So we're a little bit of a disadvantage here, being in a rural area and being able to compete with some of the more metropolitan areas that able to provide greater compensation. So at this point that we felt this is the best path forward to be able to get the work done, provide the services to the community and promote some of the growth that is coming our way in a reasonable timeframe.
We're not unique. This is a problem in the entire
Certainly
state.
not.
I mean, I've done their competition. Everybody's talking about, we can't get building inspectors, we can't get engineers, we can't get police officers. We're not unique. It's a problem. It's a great idea. We got a lot of stuff in the hopper. I mean, in the next year, probably starting now, next year. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, so definitely needs somebody on staff. My question was, so it's 200,000 a year, and is that for a certain amount of jobs? What if another one pops up, a bigger one, a mall pops up, falls up with the property? Is this person gonna be able to handle that, or we have to go out for another?
Yeah, so we'll assign workload as needed. Right now, we're estimating with the current workload, this is what it would be. But I mean, it's potential, the city manager and I were talking about 2 years from now. We could have a lot of like single family home permits and those subdivisions take a lot of time of inspectors out there looking at things, people reviewing plans in-house. And so their civil engineer prepares the documents. We have to have a civil engineer on this end review their documents and approve them. So right now, we're pretty satisfied with that. And so if needed, we would have to maybe do a supplemental budget mid-year to add somebody if it ended up that we really had a great need. So far, we're surviving. But we're not getting to a lot of our workload just because of that vacant position.
All right, we have a motion to second place resolution number 1333-0524 on June 4th, 2024. Needed for further consideration. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're now under action agenda, and Park Corporation Provider Jordan Crumples, I think, Commissioner Board about the Virginia Art Gallery. So just a nice little thing we have out in our lobby.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm here on behalf of the Shelton Arts Commission. We did call the artists through local artists, art galleries and organizations. We had a deadline of for submittals on May 3rd, and we had 5 artists submit art, and all of those artists are free returning artists, which is great. The Shelton Arts Commission met on May 7th to jury the artwork, and then as I'm bringing those to you tonight, and then they will be placed from June 4th through the end of August. The 5 artists, we have 3 that are doing photography work, Deborah Chavez Singer, Elizabeth Jacobson, and Tom Ryder. Both Deborah and Tom are bringing some black and white series with us this time. And then Heather Roseborough with acrylics and Joanne Dower with some watercolor and oil work. It's great to have another great round of art come through, and tonight I'm just looking for final approval. Happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Jordan. Don, any type of foot comment? No?
No.
We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Shelton Arts Commission's recommendations for placement in the Civic Center rotating art gallery.
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
Photography is very beautiful. Lots of nice questions.
Yeah.
You can walk around and have a moment in the art.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the Shelton Arts Commission recommendations for placement in Civic Center rotating art. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have a resolution for a grant activity. Public Works Director Jay Harris is back.
Yes, council. So your last meeting, you heard this. We were awarded 143,687 from the National Estuary Program to begin design on a backup or secondary disinfection system down the main wastewater treatment plant at Oakland Bay. I don't know if all of you have been on a tour. I know Councilor Sapp hasn't yet, but I give tours about every month. If you guys want to come down and check it out, get a hold of Danielle over there. She lines me up with all the tours. It's good. I get out every month, but I'll stop by and I'll show you the current disinfection system, which is UV lights. The goal is to put in a backup to that in case there was a failure in that system. We can just switch over to a secondary system and keep the proper permit requirements for the flows into Oakland Bay. So accepting the grant as part of the resolution tonight, and then also bringing parametrics on board for $159,264.44 to design that for us. And so anyways, it's giving you the slack tide tank. It's a facility already on the site, and I think it's going to be a great thing for Oakland Bay and potentially for shellfish harvesting in the future. Just having that additional redundancy, I think will go a long ways. And I've had no changes since my last presentation.
Thank you. Donna, is there public comment?
No, there isn't.
We were reading the resolution for 1328-0324.
Resolution number 1328-0324. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, authorizing the city manager to approve the grant agreement with the Department of Health for backup disinfection treatment design at the wastewater treatment plant and to proceed with the work order for design of the project by Parametrics Engineers.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1328-0324 as presented.
All right, comments or questions? So this is triple redundancy now that we have, because we remember in my time here, we've done dual UV lights for that purpose. Now we have a third option to protect the waters of the bay. And we get awarded, multiple years now for our efforts in that, and I believe some bays opened up for others, correct? Some of the work we've done.
Just recently, there's some conditionally approved areas across from the treatment plant over the Shorecrest area, correct?
And that was efforts that we did at the plant. We put on the slack tide tank an automated valve there that we can shut flows to the plant, fill up the slack tide tank, and then pump the water that was out of spec back through the plant again. And so when the state saw that, they came out and approved the project. That processes went through. Squaxin Tribe was talking to them, and that enabled the state to release and open up some more shellfish areas. Just that one project. I don't know if the backup disinfection is also going to be compelling for them, but we're going to get it designed, and then we're going to seek opportunities. It's about $1 million to put that in for construction funding.
Yeah, over the years that I've been here, we keep adding redundancy to these systems to protect the water. I believe we bought new generators which have been here, double generators, double UV lights. It's made it's productive for for the system. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Always welcome to bring in quality, bring up the quality and bring in the quantity of more water to shelters.
And thank the wastewater plant staff. They do a lot out there every day behind the scenes on that campus, keeping this quality water, it comes in and is treated and goes out, it stays within permit every day. And whether it's equipment maintenance and repair, the UV system, they went in and put new circuit boards and new light bulbs and that sort of thing, self-performed all that work.
Right?
What's that?
New computer too, so it's not to be monitored.
SCADA. Yeah, the
SCADA system was upgraded too, so our call outs are better, and the number of items that we can get notifications on is increased also. So they are running a really tight ship down there at the plant. So anytime anybody wants to go for a tour, call Danielle there and I'll take you around and show you some the latest things going on.
And our ultimate goal is not put anything out the bay. Have injection wells or spray fields somewhere, but that's probably 20 years away.
Yeah, the
I
long-term
was
goal.
thinking
Yep.
maybe 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
Yep. Recharge aquifers with the water, don't put the water out in the bay.
All right. Well, we have a motion second to adopt resolution number 1328. Yes, 0324 presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Vote, motion carries. Jay, you're up.
I've got a busy night tonight.
Jay,
So, so at the other treatment plant, the satellite plant, we are working on the reclaimed water tank up there. And part of that is we have to go through SEPA, which is the State Environmental Policy Act. And we were talking to our planning division. We were showing the wetland delineation work and the buffer associated with the wetland. There's an offsite wetland to our planning folks, and that delineation was quite old. It was like from 2007. And anyways, they asked if we can get an updated delineation down to the wetland. So this scope of work increases or allows the consultant to perform that within his scope of work. The delineation is very similar, and found out that the quality of the wetland wasn't as high as people in 07, 05 anticipated or looked at, and the actual buffer decreased. And so it was good because it's usually you don't see that where you have a wetland. The buffer was 250, it went down to about 150. So it actually sort of moved it off of our project site. So there was some good outcomes there. That area is all wooded. Nothing's going to be built in there for forever. These buffers are pretty much protected. So it's a good thing that this happened probably, and future phases of the wetland or of the expansion of the membrane treatment plant will be utilizing the same delineation for headworks and future plant expansion. The headworks is coming up soon. You guys will see that at the next meeting. So that we're going to be using the same delineation multiple times.
All right, thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Donna, make a reading of resolution number 1331-0424.
Resolution number 1331-0424. A resolution of the council of the city of Shelton, Washington, authorizing the city manager to approve supplemental agreement number 3 to the professional services agreement with Gray & Osborne Incorporated titled Satellite Wastewater Treatment Plant Tank Project.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1331-0424 as presented.
All right, how much a question? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1331-0424 presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, Mark Ziegler, city manager, information about the protocol manual and strategic goals.
That's right.
Hard time to that word.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Once again, bringing to you tonight, council's strategic goals of 2022 through 2025 version, as well as the council protocol manual. I want to bring to your attention page 42 and 43. I did make 2 changes since the last briefing. It's really been beneficial having the opportunity to seat a new council member in the middle of this protocol manual update, because we could revise some of the process and clarify what works and what's best practice for the council. So again, on page 42 under voting, item F, the previous language said the city clerk records the votes in the meeting minutes. The proposed change, the city clerk shall proceed with a roll call vote and record the votes in the meeting minutes. Just clarifies that vote is being taken by the city clerk. And then item G, the previous language was the selection of a candidate to fill the vacancy is made by a majority vote of the remaining 6 members of the council. Excuse me, that remains. I add the language, or elections will continue until a nominee receives a majority vote of the remaining council members. Again, it just clarifies that we don't have that majority vote, it'll start over again. So 2 changes since the briefing on the 7th. And I'm open to any questions the council may have.
Donna, anyone have a comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
May we read the resolution number 1234-0524.
Resolution number 1334-0524. A resolution of the council of the city of Shelton, Washington, updating the city council protocol manual and policy number 100-10
council agenda briefings / reports.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, move to adopt resolution number 1334-0524 as presented.
Second.
All right, comments or questions? We have a motion and second to adopt resolution number 1334-0524 presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, one more from Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bringing forward tonight the environmental covenant for the C Street landfill that has been provided by the Department of Ecology. This covenant outlines the future use of the landfill portion of the parcel, what's commonly referred to as C Street landfill, not the outside areas of that parcel, which were impacted by the landfill. Again, it's about 6 acres, sorry, of landfill that is prohibited from certain uses in the future, and we have to continue monitoring groundwater in that area, and then the areas outside of that landfill could be used for future uses as the city deems necessary.
Thank you. Now I'm going to read the resolution for 1330. Oh, I'm sorry, do you have a public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor, there isn't. Yes. Resolution number 1330-0424. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, accepting the Washington State Department of Ecology's environmental covenant for the C Street landfill.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 1330-0424 as presented.
Right, comments or questions? Yeah, I just want to thank staff for catching that they were going to block off the whole entire parcel, not just the 6 acres, and I think that was a good catch to make sure that we're able to use the other, how many, 9 acres?
Yeah, yeah.
8 or 9 acres for something someday.
Absolutely.
That's a good job with that. All right. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1330-0424 presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. All right, we are now out of city manager report. Mark, we have a report for us tonight.
A few things. I want to continue the theme from the presentations tonight. I recognize the volunteerism in our community. I think it's nights like this and we see the presentations that remind us of the dedicated citizenry that we have here that contribute to our town. Being involved in a service club for many, many years, it's been great to see that average age decrease a little bit at some of these events, but we still need more. Certainly with the work that's been put in on Tolly over the last week plus, that doesn't include the planning process put in primarily by Zach Hansen, who's in his low 20s and took this effort on. And then we saw probably the average age of volunteers out there, the Dickinson family dropped that way down. And the efforts they put into that, but they're really being led by their grandfather, who Dwayne Wilson has been a stalwart volunteer in our community for many, many years. And it's great to see that he's instilling that into his grandchildren here for hopefully generations to come. I joked with some of those kids that they get to do this for multiple times in our lifetime. It might be some of us that were out there, maybe the last time we get to paint it, they get to paint it many, many times in their lifetime. So joked with them a little bit. I don't know if they saw the humor in that. Forest Festival's right around the corner. Again, volunteer run event, brings a lot of history to our community. It's the 80th iteration of Forest Festival here in town. A lot of great events. You see a carnival already being set up down off First Street. The Shelton Rotary and their involvement with Huff and Puff Trail. It's been a highly successful effort with them taking some ownership, providing the volunteer work that they've done up there, and then taking on the memorial at the same time. The memorial is something that Abe Gardner was involved with the Eagle Scout project, placed on city property with no real plan to manage it and dedicate the necessary effort to that after years of it being there and being in place. So the city has to do a better job. We have to do a better job engaging our community in that, much like Tolly, the clock tower, the log monument, and amenities like that are in place that are community assets, and make sure that people are aware that there's opportunities there to become involved. I want to mention Post Office Park as well. As council knows, we've been communicated to by the U.S. Postal Service of their intent to remove the park, add parking there. Their intent is July 1. We've been in contact with our federal delegation expressing the city's concern in maintaining that green space and the Christmas tree that's in place, but also the process and our process and what we thought was good faith effort to negotiate a property swap with the Postal Service to maintain that, and then pulling that at the last minute on us after we spent just over $30,000 on that effort. So yeah, exactly. We're still working on that effort with the Postal Service, but I'm happy to see that there's some groundswell in the community and an effort this Friday to educate more of our community. When the mayor and I were down there a couple weeks ago meeting with Senator Murray's rep, somebody just drove up and, you know, asked us to save the park and save the trees. So there's community interest out there, and certainly a need to preserve some of these traditions that are so near and dear in this community that we live. And I think that that covers my oh, I guess the last thing, this Shelton Historic Preservation Board, again, more volunteers dedicating their time preserving history in our community. We saw that presentation tonight. I just want to recognize those individuals for stepping up, because without the boards to make those decisions and run these programs and these efforts, those things go away and they slowly die. So
There's a private effort, Friday at the park to about it. Chuda 4-6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think gain more information. The individuals have been in contact with me. Obviously, the intent is just to provide information. It's not going to be a protest that blocks the street or does anything like that. They're going to provide more information, provide an opportunity for kids to color some signs and make some signs, hand out some information, some letters and contact information to the U.S. Postal Service Board of Directors, as well as our federal delegation.
Questions for Mark? All right. At this time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any city-related topic. That's not what's something to that. Donna, anyone got a public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. The first speaker is Susan Kirkshaww. Wrote it down. Those that know me know I don't do that. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Lithgow, council members and community members here tonight. My name is Susan Kirchhoff, and I am the founder and executive director of the Youth Connection, with lived homelessness experience 3 times in my life. So I have a good understanding of what homeless people go through. We currently have 2 shelters or 2 drop-in centers, one in Shelton, one in Belfair. We operate 6 off-site shelter housing programs where we house 16 young people. I'm here tonight, though, as a representative of our nonprofit homeless response system that is working together to create a change. Youth Connection is hosting a provider party with a purpose in hopes to change how outreach is conducted in our community and create a system which works together to support the whole person and find a solution for Mason County's homeless problem. In 2024, the Youth Connection has signed up 110 literally homeless young people in Mason County. This is a 25% increase from last year. This number is increasing as the cost of living has increased and causing individuals to lose their ability to support themselves without support. The Youth Connection is fortunate as we work hard to prevent our clients from becoming chronically homeless, but we know that that is still a problem. Our clients state that the Youth Connection is the only support that they can trust. The Youth Connection hears me when no one else does. The reality is the Youth Connection cannot reach them in time. Studies from the National Alliance to End Homelessness has shown the cost to our taxpayers increases daily the longer we are prevented from housing the person into permanent supportive housing, like our own veteran village does.
Hospitalization and medical treatment costs $2,414 more per hospitalization due to homelessness and increased time spent with the person in there. Homelessness both causes and results from serious healthcare issues, including addiction, psychological disorders, and a host of other ailments requiring long-term, consistent care. Homelessness often detracts from regular medical attention, access to treatment, and recuperation. The inability to do this has increased by $8,000 to $14,000 per homeless person. Emergency shelters are a necessary thing, but they are not permanent housing. We have to make a choice. The cost of emergency shelters is the same cost of HUD's emergency shelters per person. It actually increases by $8,000 per person when you go from emergency shelter to subsidy. I'm running out of time, so I don't want to run out too much. It's just proving that, and I have studies that I can show from Seattle, and I have a study in a rural area, that when you put permanent supportive housing into place, it decreases by 57% reduction in mental health services over a 6-month period. Come to my private party though.
Our next speaker is Steve Jewett.
Steve Jewett, lifelong Mason County member. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Typically, I'll shoot from the hip. I also wrote and mailed out so I can make sure that I stayed on track. We stand at a critical juncture where the fabric of society is fraying at the edges and the principles of leadership seem to have been lost in the wind. Today, I bring your attention to the dire consequences of hypocrisy in leadership, where those in power prioritize their own agendas over the welfare of their community. Look around you. In our very midst, homelessness has become a haunting specter, casting a shadow over the promise of prosperity. In every corner of our small town, there can be seen the negative impact on businesses and community members. Yet, what do we see from those entrusted with the responsibility to lead and protect us? We see indifference, we see neglect, and in some cases, we see contempt. Imagine being sworn at by the very mayor who pledged to serve and represent every citizen of this town. Such insolence is not only an affront to decency, but a glaring symptom of hypocrisy at its worst. Leadership is not a title to be worn as a badge of honor. It's a sacred duty, a solemn pact between the governed and those who govern, and to champion the cause of justice for all. We cannot allow hypocrisy to prevail any longer. We must demand accountability from our leaders. We must insist on empathy in governance, and we must reclaim the spirit of service that is the true essence of leadership. The time for change is now, and the power to affect that change lies within each and every one of us. I won't go into the words that were used at the banging of a gavel, but I will mention that there's a gentleman, if you all remember, about 6 months ago by the name of Thomas Wolfe. He came in here and used the exact same words, and he was chastised and ridiculed and told that he can't speak like that. But apparently that's before the gavel hit the table. So we're gonna sit here for the other 48, 50 seconds that I have left in silence, and we're just gonna reflect on how that went down. And people that don't see it, they were here, they seen it. Thanks, Eric.
Comments? All right. Now, comment?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor.
We have Colleen Carmichael on Zoom.
Good evening, Mayor Inesco, Deputy Mayor, and fellow council members. I'm Colleen Carmichael, the Executive Director of Quixote Communities. I'd like to share one of our veteran success stories. This one is from the Orleans Veterans Village. Harry served our nation proudly in the Army. When he came back from his time, he had financial struggles, a deep feeling of isolation, and untreated PTSD. Harry felt like he could not find a way out. He told us, "I was living in my car. It was rough. I had to keep looking over my shoulder, and I never knew when the next attack was coming." Harry's not alone. According to the Journal of Community Health, veterans who've experienced homelessness are twice as likely as other homeless to report lifetime suicide attempts. They are also 11 times more likely than other housed veterans to attempt suicide. Veterans with housing instability in the past year are 6 times as likely as those who were housed to report suicidal ideation. Our programs offer housing with supportive services. In December of 2023, we surveyed our residents to find out what their past history was before entering our programs. Our research found that 62% of them reported struggling with behavioral health challenges, 57% reported struggling with a substance use disorder, and 36% reported having been a survivor of domestic violence. Harry was one of those people. In 2021, he found his way to the Soldiers Home in Orting and started his path to wellness when he was referred to the Orting Veterans Village. Harry said, "I lived in the village for 2 years. I have a secure place. I can come and make food and do what I need to do. It's a nice, comfortable place, and I get along well with everyone." We know the many challenges our homeless veterans face. According to a research paper published by the Community Mental Health Journal, it is important to recognize that homeless veterans face challenges in accessing care, including issues with transportation, the availability of healthcare services, storing and refilling prescriptions, scheduling and keeping appointments, stigma, trust, isolation, and unmet needs. Harry was someone who desperately needed housing with wraparound services. With the support of our programs, he's become one of the most beloved members of our village. He's quick to offer a smile and is proud of living where he's living. He had this to say, "When we all work together as a community, we can overcome the problems of the world." Please help the homeless service providers share more success stories like Harry by supporting our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Donna?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. We have Tamara Ingolson.
Good evening, Tamara Ingolson, and I'm with Quixote Communities, the Shelton Veterans Village, Orting Veterans Village in the original Village in Olympia, and I live outside of the city limits. And I wanted to come up and touch on the community spirit that's been exemplified and shared throughout today and all of the things that have been demonstrated. And also share that through that community spirit, part of that is the community garden up at the Shelton Veterans Village, which looks like a freaking nursery. It is so darn cool. So you have to go look at the work that the city made possible, the Scoopin Rotary, the Mason Conservation District with the yeoman's work and working on the grants and pulling all that together, represent the youth and representatives from Youth Connections, alongside volunteers and the residents also coming up and working there. And so that community spirit, that sense of projecting positivity versus projecting negativity. And the teamwork and the collaboration that we do as a homeless task force together. And I wanted to finish what Susan wasn't able to finish in the spirit of that teamwork. As a community, which starts here with you and with me, with each one of us. You, the city council, and us, we must change how we look at homelessness. It is not going away. We are all one crisis, one paycheck, one situation away from being homeless, from sleeping in our cars if we're so lucky to have one. Please plan to attend the provider party with a purpose on June 13th and find out different ways that we can collaborate. We can connect with Susan to get more details and continue to reach out and work together, because that's how we are going to make this different. And being solution focused, as we take this data, we recognize that what we've been doing hasn't been working, the sweeps and different things. So let's look at part of the comprehensive plan, part of the different things that you have as tools in your toolbox to really look at how we can get that return on investment. That return on investment is a healthier community.
better public health all the way around for everyone. A more vibrant space, people interacting together and really sharing and enjoying and exemplifying that spirit of community that you heard about today. Thank you.
Else, Donna?
No one else, Mr. Mayor.
Don't have any new items for discussion. I think it's worth one more mention, the training, the Hanson, the Wilson, the Dickerson, and Zach, especially Zach Hanson, but he had a vision for that train and he didn't deter from that. You know, I said earlier, we sanded and painted and sanded again because it wasn't good enough. And I really appreciate the hard work that they did. And again, those kids are just. Thank you again. Anything else? Yes, our next meeting is Tuesday, June 4th at 6 p.m. We also have today's session, May 28th